Hello, friends. I hope you're here to join me in a 30-minute yoga practice. Now, I use my practice and think about not just making shapes. I really think it's important for us to think not to make shapes, but to make the shapes we use in our... That's just terrible. I want you to use shapes and the practice of making shapes to help us to get to know our bodies, to help us feel what muscle is stretching, what muscle is working. Are the right muscles being used to make a particular shape? Do I need to modify that shape to get the specific feeling that I'm going for? Yeah? It's not just about making shapes, because our bodies can make shapes, but they might not be using the right muscles to do so. And if we can gain a better awareness of our body, if we can control the muscles we use as we move through our day, as we make shapes, we're going to maximize our efforts as we start moving and grooving through our world. Now today I'm using a little prop, a chair. Because again, the focus is not just making a shape, but trying to really get everything we can. Am I getting as much length and strength out of a pose as I can? And sometimes using a prop really helps us do that. So to begin, I'm just going to breathe. I'm going to place my hands right on my ribs. I'm going to relax my shoulders down. And as I breathe, I want to feel the ribs underneath my fingers. I want to feel them expand. And as I breathe out, I want to feel those ribs start to knit together again. As we're breathing, are we breathing into our rib cage? And if it's expanding, and if it's knitting together on the inhale, or on the exhale, that means we're using our diaphragm to help us take a better breath. What happens if we don't let those ribs expand and re-knit? We're breathing into our chest, and we're not able to take as beautiful a breath in, one that really helps us fuel and oxygenate our bodies. So breathe. Right now, the props that we're using aren't just our hands. Are you feeling movement right here in your ribs as you breathe in and as you breathe out? Take a deep breath to belly and let it go. Another deep breath in and let it go. Now, friends, in just a bit we're going to use our chair, but what we're going to do right now is just come to the top of our mat. Deep breath in. And then we're going to fold down. I'm going to soften my knees. I'm going to hinge from my hips. I'm going to stay in extension for as long as I can in my spine before coming into a forward fold. And then I'm going to come into my first down dog of the day. And as I do, I'm going to press my head, ears between my arms. I'm going to try to think of lengthening up my spine up to my tailbone, and I'm tipping my tailbone up to the sky. If you can see me, my heels aren't touching the mat. It's not about touching the mat with your heels. Not especially if we're rounded in the front, sinking here, or rounded in your spine. The more important thing is what's going on in your spine. If we're feeling this correctly, we should feel a stretch right across through our heart, through our chest. Our shoulders opening up. Slide your shoulders away from your ears. I want you to notice what you're feeling right now. Breathe, and then walk back into your fold. and then roll up to standing. Now here's the first time I'm going to use the chair today. I'm going to see if I'm feeling what I want to feel in that down dog as I do a down dog from standing. Okay, friends, I'm going to place my hands lightly to the chair. I'm going to soften my knees, and I'm keeping my spine straight until my head is between my arms. My arms are by my ears. And this is mimicking what I want to feel in a down dog. Actually, to me, this is one of the most ideal down dogs. My knees are soft, they're not locked out and straight. There's a soft bend. My spine is straight, long, and my head is between my arms. And then I'm just going to come out of that. Friends, that's a down dog. That is a down dog. I'm feeling the same muscles working, and I'm able to manage that a little bit better from a standing position and using a chair. I want you to try that with me again. Hands lightly to the back of a chair. My knees are soft. I'm keeping a long spine as I push my hips back. And do you see the down dog? It's just that my hands and my feet aren't on the ground, but this is a down dog. I'm tipping my hips up and back behind me. I'm keeping my shoulders down and away from my ears. I'm feeling the openness in my chest and shoulders that I seek, even as my legs, they're feeling a nice stretch too. I'm going to come out of that. Now, have you tried that? Let's do 3 times the charm and then come back to our down dog from the mat. Notice I never lock out my legs. I keep a soft bend in my knees. And I'm not trying to necessarily, my heels are going to reach the ground because they're already there. But the important thing, spine is straight. Shoulders are away from ears, not right up by my ears. Let's try 3rd time's the charm. My knees are soft, my back is straight. I'm pushing my hips. Imagine I'm saying now, push your hips high and up to the sky, and tilt your hips up. And try to think length through the top of your head, out through your tailbone. Where do you feel the stretch? If you look to the screen right now, I kind of look like I'm in a down dog, but we've just rotated the screen, right? This is down dog. And that might mean you need to bend your knees. Now that we have a better sense of our down dog, let's try it again from the mat and see if it feels the same. Let's mimic what we did with the chair, but now without the chair. Take a deep breath in. I'm softening my knees. I'm hinging from my hips. I'm staying in spinal extension for as long as I can. Now I'm going to walk back. Actually, this time I'm going to lunge back. I'm going to lunge back so you can see. Nice straight back. I'm going to step back and find my down dog. I'm still feeling the same stretch in the muscles I did when I was standing, in my calves and my hamstrings. But now also chest, shoulders too. Your shoulders, are they down your back just like you were when you were standing? Breathe and walk back in. And rise. Every now and then I like to come back to my chair and do my down dog from my chair to see still feeling what I want to feel? Notice when I'm here, I'm not letting my shoulders, I'm not hunching my shoulders. I'm settling them down. I'm keeping them down as I send my hips back and form my down dog from here. You can see it if you just rotate your screen and pretend my hands are on the mat, my feet are on the mat, and I'm going to rise. And I'm going to shake it out. Now, how else can we use our chair? For me, if I'm having a day with balance work, I'll use a chair. Something about just having a light touch on an object that's stable helps. Now, when I do my balance work, sometimes people will ask me, where do you want to keep your focus? And I'll see a lot of people bring their drishti to the floor, and when you do that, what happens is your head comes down, your shoulders come in, and you round forward. I actually suggest keeping your gaze forward. Keep your gaze up. Keep your ears over shoulders, shoulders over hips. And if it helps to have an anchor, it's going to do us a world of good as we try to maintain this line and come into tree. We don't want to throw a hip out. We want to be one long line. And if I have support, I notice, okay, where do I need to be in space to stay in one long line? Or sometimes, let me see if, when we are doing hand to foot, we want to be one long line. Again, I don't want to have my head down because then that takes me out of neutral. Out of mountain, I want to be looking up and out. Got a hand on my chair to help support me. And by practicing that, let me see if I can. What I will sometimes see is a rounding forward, hips pushed back, and we're out of our mountain position. We want to maintain this. We start here. Maybe we support and maybe we straighten from here. Or but my chair grounds. It's helping me. I'm in my mountain. I'm rooting into the earth. My gaze is forward, my drishti is forward, and I'm keeping my gaze soft on the horizon, looking at a point. I'm maintaining that. Trying not to let my spine go wonky. I'm trying to stay one long line. As this gets easier, I can extend. Now I'm rounding now. I'm now coming back up. To gain confidence, I'm having an anchor. And that helps me think of, how do I engage? And notice I'm not out on the diagonal. I'm straightforward. Now we will go out to the side, but I'm not going out at a 45. Trying to go straight to you or to the side. And having an anchor helps me get awareness of what that feels like in my body. Now friends, next up, I can also use this in my Warrior 3. Warrior 3 airplane. I'm going to start with the very basic Warrior 3. I find it easier to master this first with hands at heart. Longer lever starts pulling our core awareness out, or maybe hands at hips. And we begin to dive a little or a lot as one straight line. I'm going to show you the side view of that. What I'll sometimes see is the knee goes a little limp, and we'll just kind of start throwing our chest forward and then maybe lifting our leg. Think about moving as one single piece and staying as long as we can, diving a little or a lot. Now here's where the chair comes in handy. Let's use this chair to stabilize and help us focus on keeping this leg long, straight, and lifted. I'm going to step back so I can. Long. I'm moving as one piece, hinging from the hips. Moving as one piece. Rather than letting it hang loose, lift. Lift. I've got support from the chair, helping me keep my back straight, and taking a little bit of the onus out of my core muscles to help support my spine. I'm going to come back up. So what's happening is we use our glutes to help us extend that leg. Ooh, we're going to do that with the other leg. I'm long and straight. I'm moving as a single line, keeping my leg lifted. Now, if this is as much as we can, then we stay here until this gets easy. As that gets easier, we dive in a little more with our chest. But at the same time, that back leg lifts. It's one piece moving. Right now, the chair is helping support me so I can feel what I want to feel in both legs. I'm going to come back up, give my legs a little bit of a shake. It's not just making a shape, but am I using the right muscles? Am I strengthening? Oh, hello, the beauté. The chair is helping me support my core and keep my spine supported. We don't want to collapse to lift the leg. We want to stay long, lifted. One line. Now, as this becomes easy, holding this here, what do? We take away the support. We take away the support. Ooh, and I'm wiggling. I'm giving myself a shake. But you know what? That's okay. Wobbling is a sign that we're pushing ourselves at our challenge point, and our muscles are going to respond by getting stronger. Let's try that again. It's only once I master this with my hands at my hips or my hands at my heart, coming to a 90 as one piece. It's only then that I suggest taking your arms out to the side or arms overhead. Arms by side, a little bit more challenging than hands at hips or hands at heart. And once we mastered that and can come in and out of that with control, that's when I then suggest arms by ears for a warrior 3. But I personally focus on mastering the basics before I start moving on and adding on more complexity to my movement, yeah? Whew, gonna shake that out. Okay, friends, I'm gonna take the chair away. I'm gonna start using different things to help us feel and notice what we want to feel in our poses. As we come down to the mat, I'm going to turn next to pigeon. And I'm going to do the most accessible pigeon we have, which is a supine pigeon. I'm going to start on my back. I'm flexing one foot and bring that ankle over the other knee and gently pushing that knee away from me. Now, if you look at where your knee is, bring your hand to your hip. I bring my hand to my hip and bring it straight up so I can see where my hip is, where my knee is. My knee is outside my hip. That's what we want in pigeon. Now, to especially feel pigeon, right now I'm working on externally rotating out my hip, but I now keep that as I reach between my legs and draw my legs to chest. This is the most accessible pigeon we have. Breathe. Notice what you feel in the leg where your ankle is over the knee. What are you feeling right here in your hip? What stretch are you feeling? That stretch we're going to try to replicate in all the different other pigeons that we do. To me, the next most accessible pigeon we have is the seated pigeon. But before we do the seated pigeon, let's just make sure we get the other side from our supine pigeon. There are days where I prefer this version of pigeon to what you might think of traditionally. Because rather than just trying to look like a shape, here I'm focused on the pure experience. Here I can acquaint myself with what pigeon feels like best and what muscles we want to be stretching, what muscles we want to be working. What are you feeling? See, this is my foot. I'm now following that leg to my knee, down to my hip, and noticing what I'm feeling at that hip that's now followed from my foot to knee to hip. What am I experiencing in that glute and outer hip? Now that I've paid attention to that, let's do our next most accessible pigeon. I'm going to release and roll on up. I'm going to keep my legs long, but slightly bent. And I'm not going to sink in, let my chest round and my shoulder blades collapse in. I'm going to be nice and long. I'm going to lift my head away from shoulders and draw my shoulders down. I'm now going to flex the foot just like I did from down below Ankle over knee and sit up. If I sit here, I'm not going to feel much of anything. But as I sit up, I'm noticing, do I feel the same thing that I felt here? So let's try that again. Now maybe your foot is too far out. Or maybe you're feeling this and going, oh, oh, oh. This is the same stretch I felt when I was on my back. Then bring your foot in a little more. Lift your head away from your shoulders. Sit nice and tall. Are we feeling the same thing we did from here? If that's still not enough, hips closer, still long spine, head away from shoulders. My chest isn't collapsing, my shoulder blades aren't rounding, my collarbones aren't collapsing in, and that's pigeon. Or I turn to you, 90-90. Here's my hip, here's my knee, here's my foot, and the other leg is bent. But before we do this on the other side, we've got to switch legs, right? So I'm going to start far back, a little further back, but legs bent. The other ankle bends, foot flexes, and I sit tall. Is it the same stretch? If we're moving our muscles correctly, it's the same stretch. Just rolled from our back now to our butt. Yes. If it's not enough, closer I go to that forward foot, but I'm not letting my head shrink in. No, shoulders down, head lifted, spine long. Breathing. Or, as I turn to you, here I am. And then 90-90. Here's my hip, here's my knee. I'm right in the middle, squared in my hips. My hips are pointing forward. Now, then, otherwise, leg back. Here's my hip, here's my knee. Knee outside of hips. Squared right between my hips. My head lifted away from my shoulders away from my ears. Length down my leg. Breathing. So what I'm not doing is this. My knee bent, and I'm sitting right on my knee. Look, Ma, my knee is inside my hip, and I'm not getting the stretch that I want in this hip. So, from 90-90, spine long, leg long. So no matter which shape you take with your pigeon, we start with the basic. I start on my back, my foot is flexed, it's over a knee, I've drawn my leg in. Am I able to recreate this feeling from a seated to 90-90 to a leg behind? And that's actually the progression I like to take with my pigeon. Start from my back, move to seated, then maybe to a 90-90, and then with a leg behind. Or perhaps we go from on our back, forget the seated and go here, 90-90. Are we able to sit here? And then I try bringing my leg behind me. The goal is not just to send your leg behind you, but it's to feel the stretch and the right muscles. Yeah. Oh, friends, today was a little bit more technique, but the use of props and hopefully the attention and awareness drawn to what we want to feel as we're experiencing a pose. That said, next week, a different practice. If there are poses you'd like me to talk about, or if there's anything you'd like me to talk about in more detail, please provide feedback. We're trying to find a way. I'm not sure if they've done this, but we've heard feedback that it's hard to see where that feedback button is. We're trying to find ways to make that a little bit easier to find. But if you do have feedback and you'd like to share it, let me know. I like to hear what you want, and I like to give you what you want. But until I see you next time, know the goodness in me bows to the goodness in you. Namaste, and I hope to see you here again another time, here on the Virtual Y. Bye, friends.
I'm Sarah, and this is Cardio Dance. Are you guys ready to work out? Let's do it.
I woke up feeling like this gon' be my day. I got that poppin' fire every step I take. Living that wild life.
Through the bag. Go! That's where we want to go.
Last 10 seconds. I'm right here with you. Let's do it. Welcome to the Y. My name is Erin. I'm Jennifer. My name is Linda.
My name is Tommy, and today we're going to do a quick step routine.
We feeling like we can conquer the world today?
I wish you all could smell it. It smells so good.
Time. We get stronger in my world. We're going to do it again.
We'll see you again. Keep working hard. You did awesome.